What's your origin story? All superheroes and villains, they have them, that defining moment that really shapes who they are. Well, we as God's people, we actually have a shared origin story. Unfortunately, most of Christianity for the last 1,500 years has relied on the wrong origin story. We started the story in Genesis 2. You know the moment Eve and Adam in the Garden of Eden with a certain bite of a certain forbidden fruit that led to what's called the doctrine of original sin, a theology that says this moment changed human nature and that now our starting place, our default setting is sin. But original sin is not where we begin. Because the actual story of God begins in Genesis 1, with God creating all things, calling each created thing good, and then on top of that, offering 3 specific blessings. This is our origin story. It doesn't deny the curse and the sin that follows, but we begin in blessing. Our origin story of blessing, which shapes who we are, and it is time for us to reclaim this, especially now when the effects of the last 2 years of a global pandemic have left us so lost and disoriented, while conflict and war rages in Ukraine, while we face the current racial reckoning, and while we each weather our own loss and fear and exhaustion. Especially now, as we find ourselves in the season of Lent, the 40 days leading up to Easter, which is always a time to stop and enter the desert wilderness journey of Jesus, where his own forming of who he is and what he is to do is an invitation for us to let our own wilderness form us too. And this Lent at Salt House, we let our current wilderness draw us back into our origin story, our original blessing that is not dependent on who we are or what we do, but it is who we are and it is what we do. To get there, these Sundays in Lent, we'll trace the beginnings of this theme that carries through the entire Bible, the theme of blessing and curse. We'll walk through the 3 blessings of Genesis 1, then into Genesis 2 to understand the curse. We'll hear a Salt House story from one of our own. We'll trace blessing and curse through the rest of Genesis, then connect it to Jesus' ministry, leading us to Palm Sunday and Holy Week, where together we walk the great descent into Jesus' death on Good Friday, only to rise again on Easter Sunday. Surprise! Into the blessing of new life on the other side. And so, friends, we take a deep breath now, calling to mind and being honest about the other origin stories that we have been told and that we carry. You know the ones I'm talking about, those false stories of needing to perform and perfect and prove ourselves, so that through our Lenten journey, God would rewrite our origin story, forming us as God's blessing for our hurting world. So let's relearn it together now, our original blessing.